The Dentalpreneur Podcast. Okay, doctor, it's time to put down that handpiece. You're listening to the show dedicated to helping dentists get their lives back. It's time to decrease your stress, increase your profitability, and regain your passion. Now introducing your host, Dr. Mark Costas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Dentalpreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Mark Costas. What is up, my friends? I hope you're doing great out there today in podcast land. I have a little bit of a strained voice today, so forgive me if I'm struggling a little bit. Just got back from an awesome trip to Mexico where we were searching for a permanent facility for the Smile Outreach International Mexico kind of location, and really excited by some of the things that happened on this most recent trip. I'll do a whole episode dedicated to it, but let's just say that we had a huge offering from a dental school in California that's getting rid of all of their equipment, and they've offered to donate as much as we need, which is hundreds of dental chairs and technology, et cetera. So I'm very excited about that, and we have located and secured a permanent facility in Mexico. Once again, guys, I will dedicate a whole episode to it. I just wanted to let you know that is why my voice is a little bit tired, and I'm super excited about the way that things are going with Smile Outreach International. I'm excited to introduce a new friend to the show. His name is HR Huntsman, and he's the founder of Leaders Edge. He's also a business and leadership keynote speaker, organizational strategist, author, business executive coach, and business leadership consultant. HR founded Leaders Edge to be able to invest in leaders, especially young leaders. His passion stems from his backstory of overcoming early childhood struggles, then going on to building successful and impactful organizations. HR, what's happening, dude?
Mark, it's a pleasure to be here, man. Your opening was beautiful. I love the community and the vision you're building. I'm honored to be part of it. So thanks for the invitation.
Of course. You and I, we're kindred spirits. We love to talk about the same things, a lot of the same things. I would love it though, HR, if you could go back in the time machine with us and kind of tell us about your backstory, how you got into kind of leadership consulting in the first place. It's never a straight line. So I'd love to hear kind of the way that it went for you.
That's a fact. Yeah, no one would ever pick me for this if they looked at me as a kid, for sure. So I grew up in southern New Mexico, grew up in the Alamogordo, Tularosa, eventually Ruidoso region, and big life change. My biological father had his first stroke when I was 18 months of age.
Oh.
And I never knew who he was. He lived with us and my mom and myself. I found him dead in the backyard when I was 9 years old. And during that time, my mom had divorced him, remarried so she could take care of him. And then I have two half brothers with that dad. And he eventually left for another woman and left my mom as a single mom. And anyway, the part of that story that's important to what I do now is there was this huge hole in my heart where a dad should have been. I had no positive male role models my whole life, men in and out. My mom has 9 kids by 4 different guys. And so just kind of a chaotic, alcoholic, sometimes abusive home. Stepdad number 2 brought abuse into our home. And like I said, men in and out. Anyway, what that did is it set up in me just a few things. Deep insecurity, right? I wanted to be more than I was. I was always told you're never going to amount to anything. Kids like you don't go to college. I was called white trash and trailer trash. And I wanted something different. It's not what I wanted. And I didn't know what I wanted, but I knew I didn't want to perpetuate that lifestyle or cycle or generational pattern. So I joined the military, Air Force veteran, joined the Air Force. And that's when I met John Simmons. And I give credit to then Captain, eventually retired Lieutenant Colonel John Simmons. He was the first positive male role model I had in my life. And he invited me into his home and showed me what it was to be a good father and a good husband. I've never seen any of those things. And in that time, Mark, I dedicated myself to becoming rich. I thought being rich, I was going to cover all the insecurities and pain and all the crap from my childhood and all the dysfunction and brokenness. And he told me this. He said, H, I'd like to challenge you to make your life impactful more than successful, like make your life useful. And that was a turning point for me. And from there, it changed my entire educational career. I was going to be a software engineer. I was really good with computers. I'd written some computer programs. I was a coder back in the 80s before anybody knew what a coder was, and changed my life. I started my first company when I was 28, and my dedication was to change the world. And I built that company to be very large, traveled around the world, drilling wells, helping build orphanages, food programs, clothing programs, all kinds of work in developing nations. That's why I love what you do with Smile Outreach International. I just resonate with that so much. So that's a little bit of my backstory.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So what did you end up kind of switching to educationally, or was there just a focus, a personal kind of a personal focus on leadership and those sorts of things as you built up your large company?
Well, leadership kind of stumbled into that, Mark. So my passion, I changed my educational route from software engineering and electronics engineering all to really third world development and cultural anthropology, and being able to go into a developing nation and sit down with a tribe and analyze needs and figure out where we could do work, and listen well and ask good questions, and don't believe you're the rescuer, but learn to team up. And that led to all the work we did with vegetable gardens and hygiene projects and orphanages and all that stuff. But so the leadership piece came as a result, and almost secondarily, as I was building my company, started from scratch, had no clue what I was doing, had no leadership background in my life, just vision and passion. And that's about it, Mark, to be honest, just vision and passion and drive and resiliency and tenacity to do something important. And I quickly realized that if I was going to build this thing to be anything of any kind of significance, I was going to have to scale myself, develop leaders, and build teams. And so I kind of stumbled onto what has become just my life's passion, and that is developing teams and leaders. If I'm going to make a difference around the world, I can't do it by myself. I have to surround myself with people, empower them, train them, teach them, release them, listen to them. And so when I retired from that first company at 50, I knew I wanted to give back to leaders. Like, for me, leadership and developing leaders is the key to changing the world. You empower a leader, you change the world. So that's how I kind of stumbled into this focus on leadership development and scaling companies.
That's a beautiful story, man. I appreciate you being vulnerable enough to share that with us. I've been a student of leadership for as long as I've been in business, because it was a realization very early on that you could have all the systems in the world. You could have the best team, actually, like from associate doctors to office managers to executive vice presidents. But if you don't know how to lead them, you end up with a lot of wasted talent and chaos, frankly. A rudderless ship just kind of spins in circles without a unified direction. One of kind of my favorite modern, most recent mentors has been Jocko Willink, who is a special forces guy. And he had a very simple message that resonated with me and so many other people. He was the keynote at our last large summit. And he sat down with me, and I found him to be a very genuine, heartfelt person. But his message is very simple. It's just 100% extreme ownership. Everything that happens in your business and in your personal life is your responsibility, 100% your responsibility. And the sooner you can remove yourself from making internal excuses or looking out, as they would say, looking out the window instead of the mirror, the sooner you could do that, the faster you're going to be able to come to grips with how to become a strong leader. What I like about that message is it's very simple. It's like, take 100% ownership in everything that's happening in your life. If you were going to try to reduce leadership down to a few simple ideas, what would that be from your perspective?
Yeah, first of all, love Jocko. Jealousy you had him as a speaker. I saw that. I thought, what a fantastic deal. Long before extreme ownership came out, I read a little book called The Traveler's Gift by Andy Andrews. And in that little book, same principle, he meets 7 characters from history, and each one gives him a life principle. And the first character he meets is Harry Truman. And in the book, the main character is blaming his boss and blaming his wife, and his marriage is failing. And Harry said, listen, you've chosen your way here. Everything that you're suffering is from your own choice. You've chosen your way here. You can choose your way out. And for me, Mark, that was a big message, because I didn't want to be the things happening to me guy. I despise the victim mindset and everything's happening to me. And so it was a little bit painful punch in the face that you've chosen your way here. All of your greatest pains are because you've chosen your way here. But there's such freedom in that if you've chosen your way here, you can choose your way forward. And I found a great freedom in that. And so there's the to me attitude. The next step is a for me attitude, but I think the better step is a by me attitude, to take reins of your condition, take reins of where you are in that extreme ownership. However, that wasn't your question. If I was to boil leadership down to one thing, I'd have to go back to my first mentor, John Maxwell, who said leadership is influence. Mm-hmm. And it is, can I move people to a better version of themselves and help them embrace a better version of their own future? I think the greatest waste in history is human potential. And so helping people discover the best version of themselves is a tremendous gift and a tremendous opportunity for all of us.
Yeah. Love John Maxwell's stuff. I can actually literally hear him saying that leadership is influence, nothing more, right, nothing less. Yeah,
that's his mantra, right?
Yeah, great guy with really strong convictions and just a person of integrity that I've followed for a lot of years. I probably read a half dozen of his books.
Sure.
Quick question about leadership and leadership development. Do you believe that anybody can develop into a strong leader?
Gosh, this is such a magic question, right? I get this question all the time. You probably get it all the time. Do I believe everyone can improve as a leader? Yes, for sure. I do believe that. Do I believe that everyone is capable of the same quality of leadership? No. Mm-hmm. No, I think the ceiling is different for different people. Just like the floor is different for people and the ceiling is different for people. But can people increase their skill set and their toolbox of how they move and influence others? If we're going to take it outside of position, right? Take it outside of rank and position and just talk about mom and dad influencing their kids, or a mid-manager moving from management mindset to a leadership mindset. Do I believe that everyone can improve their ability to influence, communicate others? Absolutely, I believe that. Do I believe everyone's going to be you or a John Maxwell or a Jocko? No, I don't believe everyone has that same capability. No.
Okay. What are some of your main core tenets as far as going from what I would consider somebody that had no leadership, baseline, didn't even really understand what the tenets of leadership were.
Sure.
To starting to develop that mindset that's fertile ground to grow into a stronger leader?
It's got to start with, and you know this very well, it's got to start with, I care about human beings. I care about their development. So a true leader cares about the person they're leading. It's not just for my standing. I'm not just getting them to do work so that I look better. That's what managers do. It's not just I'm using humans to do work, I'm using work to help improve this person. So it's got to start with a compassion and empathy framework, that I truly care about this person and I want better for them. Building from there, we have things like, authenticity and vulnerability, being able to say, I screwed up. The leader saying, I screwed up. I could do better at this. And I know this resonates with you because I've looked into a lot of your stuff, and you talk about being real and admitting your failures and flaws. I think that's a key component of leadership, is just we navigate the journey together. So authenticity, vulnerability, certainly curiosity. Curiosity, that lifelong learning mentality, that we never stop learning, that white belt mentality that every day I can learn something, and every day I'll practice the fundamentals. Those are some of the basic building blocks for sure. And then, of course, accountability.
Mm-hmm.
You got to show up and deliver, and being accountable to both your successes and failures. I would say those four things: authenticity, vulnerability, teachability, accountability, built on a framework of compassion and empathy.
That's really, really good. Gosh, I'm gonna have to rewind that and get those main points again. Really good stuff, HR. So when you go from this whole idea of leadership and this presence, of, hey, I'm here to support you. I'm here to listen. I'm curious about what your point of view is, and let's see if we can integrate as many of your great ideas into this organization. I'm going to give you all the resources necessary to be successful in your position, defining what success looks like in your position, all of those sorts of things. When you go from this kind of idea that I want to be a strong leader to tactics, like how do you start integrating that into your whole organization? Because I think people get this feeling like, okay, I just went to, an HR summit or an HR live event, or he came to the office and I'm super pumped up. I definitely have the will to be a leader. I see the necessity of it. Like unless I develop this skill set, then I will never reach the next level of business or fulfillment in my personal life. So they're bought in. They're going to start to embody this mindset that you're teaching them. Tactically, how do you start to integrate that into a mid-size or even large organization?
Sure. So there has to be a marriage or a wedding of two things. That's the dream of, so that leader has goals and dreams and hopes and aspirations for him or herself. Mm-hmm. The people they're leading also have goals and dreams and aspirations for themselves as well. And the organization has goals that they're trying to achieve in, let's say, 2025. They have their big, hairy, audacious goal from Jim Collins. And so the great leader is able to wed those three things together. Understanding through active listening, through curiosity, what the people on my team are striving for. They want to buy a house. They want to go to Hawaii. They want to send their grandkids to college. If I don't connect with those, I don't know how to connect the organizational component to their performance. And I think what the great leaders do is they're able to do that. Mm. They're able to say, let's pretend, Mark, you're on my team. Mark, you've shared some things with me in 2024 that you want to achieve in 2025. Let's talk about how your job here at ABC Incorporated is going to help you get there. And then what the great leader is able to do is motivate and inspire, in this case, Mark, to reach those KPIs, to work on those mindset issues, those limiting beliefs, that imposter syndrome, so that he can buy that first house, as well as move ABC Incorporated, move their ball down the field. So marrying those three things together is a critical component for all leaders. So what the leader has to do, let's say I put myself in that shoes, is I have to slow down. I have to understand three seats at the same time. The seat of the person I'm leading, I have to understand and connect with them. My own drivers, my own limiting beliefs, my own flaws, failures. I have to grapple with those with whoever's mentoring me. And then, of course, I have to really be clued in on the goals of the organization. So tactically marrying all those things together, whether it's in coaching sessions or accountability sessions or KPI reviews, whatever that looks like. Love it.
One of Robin Sharma's main kind of tenets is that anybody in any position in an organization can be and should be a leader.
Agreed.
What does that look like if you feel powerless? Say you are an associate doc or you're an office manager, and your views don't seem to sync with the owner of the practice or the vice president of your branch or something like that. How can you be a leader if you're culturally misaligned, or you don't have maybe necessarily all the same philosophies of leadership or how to run an organization?
Sure. Let's start with lead by example. Do your job well. Do your job well. hone your craft, communicate well. Don't be just the burr under the saddle person. Present solutions, what we call leading up. So when we work with the mid-level leaders, we talk about leading up, how to present change to those above you. That can be a tricky deal, Mark. You know this, how to present change without getting your head cut off. So learn how to communicate change and change management well, how to present with solutions. Don't just bring problems. No leaders like people who just bring problems. They'll bring solutions with you. So do all those things well. So let's recap that real fast. Do your job exceptionally well. Hone your craft every single day. Communicate clearly, expectations. When you lead up, present solutions when you come with problems. If you're doing all that and you're aligned with yourself, and you believe the core values of the organization, and you're beating your head against a wall, and you feel like it's a toxic organization that's just not maximizing your potential, you need to look for a place that's going to maximize your potential. You're just going to get frustrated. And again, I said, the greatest waste in history is human potential. So don't stay in a place too long that's not going to utilize your potential and your great ideas.
Yeah. That's really, really interesting insight. And I agree with you. It's startling sometimes to see how much people will tolerate in this type of job market. Now, there's two sides of that coin, right? I remember just right after COVID, you had people coming in just saying, well, I'm not feeling fulfilled. Like, I'm going to go find something that fulfills me. It's like, well, you've been here for 3 weeks and we're still in the onboarding process. Like, let me teach you your role and how you fit into this organization that's actually making a difference. So that's one side of one extreme. And then the other extreme is you're just getting beaten down and you're doing your best to fit into an organization, and that your potential is being stifled, and you're continuing to go down this road where you have very little control over your own destiny. So those are like two extremes of this kind of linear path. Now,
for sure,
if you are looking for, or you could design the ultimate direct reports as a leader, and you're encouraging them to also be leaders, like when they do come with something that requires your attention, or they're looking for your feedback or your guidance as their leader, what are you asking for as far as how they come to you? For instance, you gave like an example of, hey, don't just be that person that just says, I got 16 problems in my department, and just take 16 monkeys off their back and put them on your back. So what's a more effective way to train them to approach you with these big problems so that it is actually mutually beneficial and you guys could put your heads together instead of you just being reactive to everything that they're bringing you?
Yeah. Let's start with the mindset. Every direct report for me, and it's the way we teach in all the companies we work with, there's a partnership there's a collaboration going on here. Mm-hmm. So I have a hard and fast rule for myself and my organizations, and I teach this wherever I go, and I alluded to it earlier. You're not allowed to bring me problems without 3 solutions.
Oh, I love that.
You're just not allowed to. You're not allowed to, because of the monkey, illustration that you presented. You're not allowed to transition that problem to me. What we can do is collaborate on the solutions that you have been considering. We can collaborate on those. So absolutely bring me the problem. I'm here to help you, partner with you, collaborate with you, brainstorm with you. But you need to bring me 3 potential solutions that you have already debated and worked on to present to me. Mm-hmm. So that's rule number 1. So the mindset is the beginning. It's a collaborative partnership mindset. And then rule number 2, you have to come up with some solutions that we'll work on together.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. So if they come up with solutions, many times, if they take the time to be self-reflective, instead of just saying, God, this is a problem, I can't wait to pass this off to somebody else, anybody else, they have to sit down and be self-reflective and say, all right, if I was in my boss's shoes, or if I was in the leader's or the CEO's shoes, how would I handle this? And that lends to, just that simple policy right there, lends to more self-reflection, and it opens up a different part of their brain where they're thinking about potential solutions instead of how quickly can I get this off my plate.
Right.
I think that's so important.
And keep in mind what we're trying to develop here, Mark, is we're not trying to develop great producers. In our world, we're trying to develop critical thinking problem solvers at every level.
Yes.
So that framework is not just to make my job easier as the leader, like they're creating the solutions ahead of time. It's because I want to create a framework or a culture of critical thinking problem solvers at every level, because that is the best case scenario to move this entire organization forward, whether it's a dental practice or a law office or a construction firm, whatever it is. And so what we're doing there is we're not just solving problems, we're creating an entirely new way of thinking about problems and solutions. And so if we can create these generations of critical thinking problem solvers, every organization is going to be better off for it.
That is really good stuff. Really, really good stuff. So when you're looking for leaders of your organization, at what point do you know that they are developed enough to not abdicate, but to delegate a large portion of your kind of really high level duties to? Like, how do you know when you found your number two and not just desperately started taking monkeys off your back and putting them on their back? Like, it goes both ways, right? And, Michael Gerber in the E-Myth Revisited has this great illustration of this. Like, and he's the person that kind of really solidified this idea of delegation versus abdication to me. Abdication being you just literally dump something on somebody else without any resource and any support, just in the name of freeing up time and bandwidth for yourself, but you're not handing over those tasks correctly. So do you have kind of a method for training people up so that they are prepared for what you are wanting to delegate to them? And how do you know if they're ready?
Yeah, for sure. I even take it one further step: abdication, delegation, and empowerment. So we use another word past delegation. Delegation has to do with tasks. Empowerment has to do with humans and potential. So we even take it one more step.
I love it.
So Jim Collins does a great job when he talks about firing bullets before cannonballs. And he talks about that organizationally rolling out some new product or service. We teach the same framework, and I try to practice the same framework when it comes to leadership development. So the way we do it, the way I've done it for 30 years and the way I teach it is, you see this emerging leader, and all leaders leave clues. All emerging leaders are going to leave clues. And so the smart leader is looking for those clues. They're staying late. They're coming up with new ideas. They're innovating. They're presenting solutions along with problems. So they're starting to leave clues. And the wise leader sees that trail of breadcrumbs and says, oh, we have a potential leader here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fire bullets before cannonballs. I'm going to give them a small project or a responsibility. We have an event coming up. I would like you to handle the catering. I would like you to handle sound or AV or whatever it is. And so you begin handing off these smaller responsibilities that are fairly low risk, giving the person the opportunity to develop mastery and autonomy. And each one of those, as they succeed, you give them something larger and larger right outside their comfort zone, maybe slightly outside of their skill set, and you're coaching them the entire way. So that's the method we have used to develop leaders, is you look for opportunities to give them things off of your plate. I've got this thing coming up. I have this responsibility, or we need this thing. Can I hand it off to you? Clear expectations, clear deliverables, all the who, what, and by when kind of metrics, and then use each of those things and scale those up as you're developing that emerging leader. That's the way I've done it.
That's a really nice
structured way. That's the way we teach it.
Yeah, that's a really nice structured approach to that. I was going to ask you, how often should we be assessing our effectiveness as a leader? In other words, like, how do we know if our leadership capacity and skill is hindering the evolution or growth of our own company? A lot of times, like I kind of alluded to before, we're looking out the window saying, all right, why can't we grow? I'm looking at this department and they're not quite making it. I'm looking over at this particular leader and they're lacking in the following areas. What's the best way for us to self-assess whether or not we are effective enough as a leader? And maybe we're the bottleneck, or maybe we are the rate limiting factor for the growth of our business.
And very often we are, Mark. Very often it is us. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So the first is have the humility to pick up the mirror and look in the mirror and say, what of this is mine? What do I own? That's one of my favorite coaching questions. What do you own of this? So what do I own of this? Ask harder questions of yourself. And then all the leaders that we teach and train, every coaching session ends with, what am I not doing well? What could I do better? How can I serve you better? Kinds of questions. One of the things I ask all the people that I'm coaching and mentoring, what am I not doing that I should be doing? What am I doing that I should not be doing? Help me to grow as your coach. So asking, and of course, you have to provide the culture of good feedback at that point. So they're not just going to feed you a line of bull or just stay silent. So there has to be some authenticity there, but building in that culture where they're going to have the freedom to tell you, and the psychological safety to tell you, H, I think sometimes you bowl me over with your ideas, or you're not fully present when we talk, or, whatever it is. So asking those hard questions of yourself and asking those hard questions of people you lead.
Yeah. Love it. What makes a good coach, HR? And how did you develop your ability to coach other humans? I mean, you look around at professional sports, and I mean, a head coach can make all the difference in the world, but at the same time, sometimes, a skill set or a very high level professional and a collection of them sometimes can overpower even the best coach, just because they're harder to manage, potentially. So what makes a good coach? And
sure.
I mean, I'm a coach, and I know that most days I'm part therapist, I'm part strategist, I'm part best friend, I'm part just curious listener. So what does make a good coach in your opinion?
I think it begins, again, we have to go back to compassion and empathy. I really want them to succeed. It's not just about me trying to look smart or sharp or prove my track record. Like, I really have to be about them. I think it begins there. And then the next step is going to be, and you know this very well, and undoubtedly you do this very well, is going to be curiosity coupled with active listening, passionate listening, fully present, listening to what they're saying, what they're not saying, their nonverbal clues, how they tilt their head, their heavy sighs. What does that mean? Here's what I'm picking up. Is that real? The ability to be truly forthright and to be open and fully honest. I tell all my clients, I'm going to listen better than anyone else in your life, but I'm going to ask the hard questions that no one else will dare ask. And having the courage to ask those questions that no one else, especially when you're dealing with high-performing executives, high-performing athletes that are better at that particular skill set than I ever was. Still having the courage to ask the hard questions, pin them against the wall, and make them look at the hard issues that no one else around them has the guts to ask them. I think those are some of the things that make a great coach.
And the insights to pick up on those things that nobody has the courage to ask them. From a coach's perspective, what is your view on the importance of guiding somebody to the right solution, even though you might know it because you've seen it maybe 1,000 times, versus handing it to them and saying, here's what I've seen work in the past, do this? Like, what is your style?
Here's a phrase that I created a few years ago. Discovered truth is far more powerful than directed truth. I'll say that again. Discovered truth is far more powerful than directed truth. So I could hand someone truth that I know will solve their issue, but when they discover it themselves, it's going to be far more powerful. So me guiding them there through curiosity, through inquiry, through questions where they come to the light bulb moment and go, I see what you're driving at. It's taken me 20 minutes to get them there through this labyrinth of questions. And they go, oh, I didn't realize I was doing that. I could have told them they were doing that 20 minutes ago. But they would never have embraced it and owned it to the level they do now when they say, oh, I get it. I see it. Now there's a level of ownership far past the directed truth because they have discovered it themselves. So good coaches have to be patient with that.
Yeah. HR, that was really good. Do you see the scenario where smart people have a tendency to shut their brains off because now they're paying a coach? Like, for instance, like they think that, all right, I have this very, like what you would think is a very elementary question, which they are completely capable of answering themselves, and maybe a rudimentary challenge that they could navigate easily themselves, but they come to you with them almost like with this perplexed look, like, you're my coach, you figure this out now. I'm handing everything over to you as my sage, as my as my Yoda. Have you seen that happen?
Sure.
And what do you do? What do you do?
I'm smiling because I'm thinking of a particular instance. This is a director of a very large law firm. They have 100-something employees, and I'm coaching him and asking all the hard questions. And he gets frustrated with me and says, H, I don't want you to ask any more questions. I just want you to tell me what to do. And I said, his name's Jordan. I said, Jordan, that's not how this is going to work. I'm not going to tell you what to do. You need to discover, you need to slow down and not just look for answers. I want you to slow down, and I want you to come up with solutions yourself. What I'm going to do is ask the hard questions to make you think about the dynamics of this was an employee situation that he had to deal with, a touchy situation with a direct report, and he just wanted me to tell him what to do. And again, that's not me. I want to help develop creative thinking problem solvers everywhere I go. That's the legacy that I want to leave behind me, of creative thinking problem solvers. So I said, Jordan, I'm not going to tell you the answer because that's not the deal. That's not what we're going for here.
Yeah.
We're not going for easy answers. We're going to wrestle through tough human situations and realize what the best approach is in this case that may not exactly correlate to the next case. But you got to think your way through it. If you don't think your way through it, you're not going to know how to handle the next case that has a little bit of nuance to it.
Yeah. Oh, that's so powerful. I really, really like that. What are some of your favorite resources or favorite, I guess, examples of good coaches? Who do you try to emulate? Who do you respect a lot? Who have you taken pages from as far as their playbook?
Yeah, again, John Maxwell, he was who I cut my teeth on as a kid. I was 28 when I started my first company, and I was part of his Maximum Impact Club back in the old days when he would mail a cassette to me every single month, and I'd learn. And then it became a CD-ROM, and then, of course, it's digital now. So yeah. John Maxwell, I've probably read just about everything he's written. I devour books. I devour podcasts. I'm 60, but I think, Mark, I'm hungrier now than I've ever been. I think the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know anything. Mm-hmm. And so what I've learned is there's so much more to learn about, and everything's changing, right? Since COVID, the labor force is changing, the talent market is changing, Gen Y and Gen Z are changing. And if we leaders don't adapt to that, we're going to be left behind. I told one of my leaders lately, if you don't like change, you're going to like irrelevancy even less. So consistently devouring books and podcasts, consistently learning. Maxwell's there. Of course, Jim Collins, Patrick Lencioni, Adam Grant, Angela Duckworth. I mean, just so many great resources. Ryan Hawk's The Learning Leader podcast is one of my favorite go-to podcasts. So there's so much out there for people who want to learn. I mean, we're in the best possible time ever with the internet. Anything you want to learn, you can learn a snap of a finger. There's no excuse for not being educated on a daily basis.
I love it, dude. I'm going to quote you on that. If you don't like
Which
change, you'll like irrelevance even less.
Oh, right.
That's a great, man. That is so good. There's so much wisdom in that.
Here's where that came. I'm talking with this CEO about the modern day workforce and nobody wants to work anymore and Gen Y this and Gen Z that. And I said, bro, it's you, it's your leadership. There's nothing wrong with Gen Y or Gen Z. They just need a different kind of leadership. There has to be more connection. Connection precedes inspection nowadays. Like there has to be connection. There has to be purpose and meaning in the workforce. They're looking for that more than ever. And that's when I just blurted out, if you don't like to change, you're going to like irrelevance even less because you're going to be left behind, bro. And I've said that ever since.
Oh man, that's a framer. I really, really like that one a lot. So if there's an executive out there or there's a decision maker, say a CEO of a small, medium, or large company, and they want to engage with you, what does that look like? What type of deliverables do you offer? Are you traveling? Are they coming to you? What do those sessions look like? Are they full weekend? Are they full day? Paint a picture for us as far as how your company works.
Yeah, we have three major assets. One is executive coaching, via Zoom like this. It can be in person to local people, but mostly via Zoom for people around the country. Once a month, we work together on limiting beliefs, mindset stuff, goal setting, what it means to be a leader, how they can grow their leadership, all the blind spots that we all have that we need someone else to point out. You pointed earlier to the fact that all great athletes have coaches. The CEOs and the leaders that reject coaching, it's just a hubris issue. It's a pride issue. So monthly executive coaching where we help them get out of their own way and provide just an alternate view of and perspective of how to see things. So our big asset is the performance engine. After 30 years of building organizations and building teams, I created my own proprietary system, the Leaders Edge Performance Engine. We go through the 6 systems of business: foundation, team, strategy, efficiency, accountability, and financial. We fly to them. These are half-day workshops, 12 half-day workshops. We're working on each of those systems, deep dives, working with their team, creating the kind of culture and environment where we can have the hard conversations around all these things. That's the secret sauce, is not just the thing itself, but developing the team to be critical thinkers and problem solvers around each of those systems. Then our latest asset, we saw these companies growing that we work with, and they're putting producers in the seats where leaders need to be sitting. And just because you're a fantastic widget maker doesn't mean you're a great leader of the widget team. Those are two different skill sets. So we created Leaders Edge University. It's a 2-year-long certificate course, once a month, get together for 90 minutes with people around the country talking about corrective actions, how to do leadership development plans, how to lead meetings, different styles of communication, what a business plan looks like, all the different, how to move a room, all the things that leaders need to do that unless you go to college for it, you're not taught. So those are our 3 big assets.
That's amazing. I really like that. So can I dig into that producers versus leaders? Because I use that actual vernacular sometimes myself. Sure. And it's interesting because you alluded to this, but just because somebody's good at doing a task or good in a position does not necessarily mean that they're going to be good at training somebody else to do that. Right.
That's a fact.
And I think that we often put people in leadership roles and in training roles with no advanced knowledge of how well they're going to be able to transfer that information effectively onto somebody else. And not only that, not giving them a framework or any type of guidance on how to get this person up to speed. And those often are the times when you actually put more pressure on the person that you've elevated into this position when they didn't want it in the first place and they're ill-equipped to do a good job for you. So
100%.
So how do you I'm assuming that'd be at Leaders Edge University. How would you move around that so that you could actually elevate those people so they are equipped to be better trainers and teachers and coaches? I
can give a recent example. We just started working 6 months ago with the large manufacturing company in Nevada. And we go in and do our early assessments. And month 2, workshop number 2, I delivered them this news. I said, the good news is you're a bunch of great people who want to learn. The bad news is you have a bunch of producers sitting in the seat where leaders need to be sitting. And I'm talking to the people themselves, to them. I'm saying, as I've looked around the room and I've talked with most of you, you've all been elevated because you were great producers in your different departments. And now you're leading those departments, but you're still acting like producers, not like leaders. If we're going to take this company, we'll call it ABC Inc., to where you've asked me to take you, we have to transition producer mindset to leader mindset. And if we can't do that, we're going to have a bottleneck at every one of these department heads. So then we just roll up our sleeves and begin doing the hard work of A, changing mindset, and then B, changing behavior. Mindset is, I can't say yes to every production item that comes to my desk. That's what a producer does. They say, yes, I'm going to get the job done. I'm going to GSD it. I'm going to grind. I'm going to roll up my sleeve. That's what a producer does. A leader says, okay, time out. Why is this coming to my desk? What have I not developed in you? My direct report. How can I help you? How can I coach you? How can I train you? Until we start asking those questions. And then we gave them the tools we call success trackers and VSOs. We gave them some tools to work with. And we're 6 months into it, and we're seeing this transition happening. And it comes through the half-day workshops, and then we're coaching most of those leaders on the side as well. None of them are yet enrolled in Leaders Ed University. That usually comes year 2 or 3. But address it, call it what it is, say what needs to happen, and then begin just doing the hard work of trying to turn producers into leaders. And sometimes that transition isn't made.
Yeah.
And that's a hard conversation.
Yeah. And one of the sad things that happens, and this has actually happened to me, and this is a hard lesson, was I elevated a producer into a managerial position, and they failed miserably at the managerial position, but there was a huge void now where they were as a producer, right? So, and it's very difficult to go backwards, right? So you can't demote them now to being head producer when you already elevated them up to manager, and that relationship ended up ending. And that was all because of my lack of leadership and my foresight in, hey, listen, we have to develop them as a leader first before we elevate them into this area. And that's why, I mean, that is the main example that I use, as just because they're good at producing does not mean they're going to be a good leader or a good trainer. It doesn't mean that they will be able to exchange that information effectively. Hard lesson.
It's a hard lesson. I see it all the time. I've made that same mistake. I have a lot of scar tissue around this because we get enthralled by the production and we think it's going to translate because we don't know any better. And the wise leader that has the scar tissue that you and I have, we now do our due diligence and we talk about what does that actually look like, and do they have the leadership capacity to do what's necessary, not just the production capacity, because you don't want to lose them as a producer. And you're right, it feels like a demotion to put it back the other way, and that's never going to work.
No.
So doing our due diligence up front and talking about what that leadership thing look, and doing the right assessments and the good coaching around that ahead of time, that's what smart leaders do.
Yeah. HR, what a great conversation, man. I could talk to you for hours. We have the same reference points. We read the same books. We follow the same influencers. Really, really good stuff. Quality information you're putting out into the world. And thank goodness there's people like you that are coaching people to be stronger leaders. I think that is it's the main variable that holds people back from being wildly successful in business and more fulfilled in their personal life. So thank you for doing what you're doing. What's the best way for people to engage with you if they're interested in any of the deliverables that you have?
Sure. Just reach out to me at hr@yourleadersedge.com. And I'd love to have a chat. And let me say something back to you. That means a lot coming from you, the work you're doing in the world, what you're putting out, Mark. I just I really respect it. So I receive that, but coming from you, it means the world to me. Keep doing what you're doing, brother. I love it.
Thank you so much. All right, my friend. Hopefully we'll have a part 2 to this. I have many, many more questions to ask. Hopefully I didn't talk too much and I let you kind of really display your wisdom, but it was a really good hour to spend with somebody that has really honed your craft over the years. So thanks again.
I appreciate that. I'll come back anytime you want.
All right, my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, HR Huntsman.